Water is life, but today, water security is one of humanity's greatest challenges. As our climate changes, the dry lands grow drier and the floods grow stronger. Africa, though it has contributed almost nothing to global emissions, stands on the front line, facing droughts, floods, and violent storms. In the Sahel, farmers and herders are struggling to survive as the desert spreads and the rains become unreliable. Many are forced to leave their homes in search of water, food, and hope. Yet surviving is not the same as living. Without water, there is no food. Without energy, no development. And without both, there is no future. But there is a way forward. By connecting water, energy, food, and ecosystems through what we call the Nexus approach, we can turn waste into resources, restore soils, and recharge groundwater. Even in the Sahel, heavy rains can be captured and stored. Cities can transform their organic waste into fertilizer to bring life back to rural lands. What we need now is commitment and courage. We must fund resilience, support communities, and take responsibility for the damage done. The IPCC calls for climate reparations, but above all, it calls for action. Because we cannot plant trees fast enough to offset what we keep emitting. The world, especially the biggest polluters, must have emissions within 2 years. 7 billion small acts can create one enormous change. It's our choice to leave behind a planet that breathes, that grows, that lives. Let's not wait. Let's act. Let's do it together.
With climate change, it was like some vague idea.
Particularly young people, but not only young people. There's a kind of despairing and maybe it's all too late, all too hard to do anything about climate change.
Recently, people have begun to link it with the heat, especially farmers. People recognize that there are changes in rainfall patterns. Sometimes you have way too much rain within a short period of time.
Climate change is a global challenge. What is being done somewhere in China affects populations in Mali, in Niger. We need to come together as the Paris Agreement stated in order to find solutions to those problems. So it's a collective problem.
But when you go to the villages, that's where you see the challenges, you know.
Accessing drinking water is a huge challenge, especially during the dry season. We usually wake up at about 4 a.m. to queue for water on a first-come, first-served basis.
During the dry season, the main source of water in the communities is mostly groundwater. But in recent years, because of climate change and probably because of you realize that many communities these days, even before the end of the dry season, the boreholes are drying up. And that can be problematic.
We collect rainwater in small quantities, primarily for domestic use and backyard vegetable gardening. It is a real challenge to our development. The problem affects our children, our women, and our farming activities. Without water throughout the year, our animals suffer and our women bear the brunt of water scarcity. Rainwater from rooftops during the rainy season for domestic use. Sometimes we are not able to collect enough when the rainfall duration is short. Besides, we don't have bigger containers for water storage. What happens when you face water shortage during the dry season? Both men and women laughing and expressing helplessness. I move the cows as far as I can go to find feed grass and fodder for grazing. I do sometimes stay away from home for months. We move the cows to the nearest source of pasture to the watering point.
We don't have wells. We don't have any other source of water apart from this one. And as you can see, it's drying up.
As a predominantly agricultural area, the major problem facing Yagzor community during the dry season is water scarcity.
Due to water scarcity, we use a borehole for watering. We would love to do dry season farming if we had access to a dam that could provide a reliable water supply. Majority of women harvest firewood for sale during the dry season to support their families.
Low-income families are not able to afford electricity, so that's a big challenge to encouraging people to shift from using environmentally degradable sources of energy like charcoal and firewood.
During the rainy season, women grow vegetables as part of their framing activities to provide nutritious meals for their families and for sale. But we are unable to grow these vegetables during the dry season due to lack of reliable water sources.
The lack of water for dry season farming limits our alternative livelihood opportunities, resulting in idleness. We could expand the dry season gardening if we had access to water pumping machines for irrigation. Our boreholes broke down 2 days ago, plunging the community into water crisis. We have both mechanized and non-mechanized boreholes for domestic water supply, but we can't use them for dry season gardening. It is not sustainable.
We do farming during the rainy season, but after the harvest, the men virtually have nothing doing during the long dry season period, November to May. So the burden of providing food ingredients and other basic needs for families is heavy placed on women.
We need more boreholes or a bigger dam in our community for dry season vegetable farming and animal watering. This will help us to grow fresh vegetables year-round, to solve the joblessness and hunger gap during the dry season. Our small dugout dam here isn't big enough. Because of this, it dries up quickly before the end of the dry season, so more water sources would benefit our people and animals during the dry season.
During the dry season, the main source of water in the communities is mostly groundwater. But in recent years, because of climate change and probably because of the changing water pattern, you realize that many communities these days, even before the end of the dry season, the boreholes are drying up. And that can be problematic.
We don't have many livelihood activities during the dry season. A few farmers do dry season vegetable gardening along wet valleys or wetlands as a source of income by digging small ponds on their farms to supply the water.
Where they are not supposed to farm, they'll just go and farm there. So after taking their crops, next season when it rains, it will be easy for the sand to just go inside the river.
A lot of the catchment area, people are farmers, and they are farming and not protecting the land, so a lot of siltation. It's not just even siltation, but a lot of the chemical fertilizers, they go into the water and pollute it.
I have been fishing for 15 years. Nowadays, we don't catch enough fish from our fishing trips. This is not enough to take care of ourselves and our families, particularly taking care of the basic needs of our children. Fishing is no longer profitable. I am pleading with the government to revamp the artisanal fishing sector because our livelihoods are at risk. If the sector collapses, some of us fisher folks will be forced to engage in criminal activities like armed robbery for survival because of joblessness. It is time for we, majority poor artisanal fishermen, to organize ourselves into local associations to protect our livelihoods.
In the absence of alternative sources of earnings, most women from the Yagzor community usually migrate to Kumasi in southern Ghana to do menial jobs, which are no longer available.
There is a lot of pressure on the resources, and that brings about conflict between the communities. When population is growing, it puts a lot of pressure on water resources.
Those who can't travel down south are engaged in cutting down trees to sell as firewood.
Our agencies work as silos. Unfortunately, we don't even have an agroforestry policy in Ghana.
Water, energy, food, security and ecosystems are all interlinked in manifold ways and all together have a great impact on water security.
We're here today to talk about the water, energy, food nexus.
Intersectoral management, taking into consideration all the interdependencies that go along these resources. It is the best approach to address climate change.
This can help really address the problem and augment the water security, not only in Africa, but all over the world.
Rain falling near trees infiltrated the ground 67 times faster than rainfall falling away from tree cover. Trees also increase organic matter. A 1% increase in organic matter across 1 hectare can increase water storage capacity 1,000 litres, much of that available for plant growth. Many, many landscapes which were formerly forested lays an underground forest of living tree stumps, roots and seeds with the capacity to regenerate into trees. And FMNR, Farmer Managed Natural Regeneration, involves the selection of these plants to regrow them.
It's not just water security in Africa, it's water security also in Europe. People are having to migrate because their livelihoods can no longer be sustained by the ecosystems. Plan infrastructure systems within sectors. So we look at water infrastructure, energy infrastructure, transportation, waste as individual sectors, and we plan infrastructures for them. We don't think about connecting these, or we don't think of waste as resource in a mainstream way yet. If we think about water, energy and food being connected, we can start thinking of, for example, rain that falls on cities as a resource. What would happen if we looked at this, at the moment, wastewater as a resource that we can use, either to recycle, for drinking, for washing, or to recharge the groundwater aquifers? If we start doing this in the context of the African Sahel region, for example, we could think that maybe we can bring up the groundwater level, which would save us potentially energy needed for pumping. If we start thinking about how to store more water in the ecosystems, we may be able to regenerate ecosystem services, helping to keep the soil moisture up, helping to keep the land more fertile, being able to generate more food. That's how the Nexus approach could work to support social sustainability.
You have to be part of the community. Respect them, listen to them, respect their views, and then they also listen to you. But if you go there as if you are all-knowing, technical, you know it all, sometimes they will even tell that, well, you say you are their son. So you cannot come back and tell them what they've been doing all along. So that they can collect large volumes of water and probably channel it into bigger containers instead of they just use small pan and then collect. But it's very common and very popular and very convenient and probably very more useful. Because the rainwater is clean. Many of the boreholes, they may be salty. During the rainy season, everybody collects water. It's just that probably we need to formalize it and then see how we can improve the rain, harvesting system. So that apart from even collecting it for domestic use, they can also use it for what we call kitchen gardens, particularly the women. A small backyard garden where they can channel rainwater and then grow vegetables that can improve on their diet. There's a lot more potential to scale up and probably to improve rainwater harvesting because they're already doing it.
Infrastructure for water storage, water treatment, water sanitation, in short, efficient water management. So the opportunities, I can summarize it into three. The use of renewable energy, rainwater harvesting, and water recycling and reuse. In the Sahel, though it is not raining heavily, there is still an opportunity for rainwater harvesting. Rainwater harvesting is not widespread in the region. It's a very cheap technology that we can easily implement in order to do the rain harvesting. On a larger scale, community-wise, of course, it needs a little bit of investment, but at the household level, this is something that can be implemented with community engagement.
A lot of the water goes waste. So something like this one, you can see rain gauge. Maybe we can introduce very simple rain gauge in the communities.
Can I start from that? And also have it, but I don't know where to start.
Sometimes the simplest things can be revolutionary.
If we get a mechanized borehole, it will work magic in expanding dry season irrigation farming.
There's a lot of renewable energy potential in Ghana. Solar is one big one, but we haven't managed to tap into them. Currently, solar energy is about 2% of our energy mix. Individual solar power generation locally would have saved a lot of generation capacity needed in the central system. There's also one private biogas generation plant. But there were some cultural misgivings about using biogas because it's from waste and people could not understand the dynamics there.
From around March, many households would have finished their production, their food production. And from now until around June, July, when their first crops from the field will be being harvested, there's a long period of, gap we call hunger gap. So once they are regenerating trees, like the shea, like the tamarind, then they have food to eat immediately. So that is another advantage. And medicinal plants.
We used to burn all the bushes and grasses by December, thus denying our livestock of feed. The FMNR practice has helped to restore our farms and communal grazelands, increased women's access to firewood, and ensured closer access to fodder for our animals. In the past, we couldn't produce enough food to last throughout the year, but now the restored vegetation and trees have helped to improve soil fertility and crop yields. The trees also provide shade for us and our animals during the dry.
We have very long dry period, so tree planting really is not an option. Tree survival here can be very low. FMR is a traditional, very simple technique that farmers have used over the years, where they manage and regenerate and protect trees, native trees that are already on their plots, native trees that they know. So the best way of managing trees is to prune them.
Then use hand pruners and loopers to cut off any downward growing branches.
We have done well so far in embracing FMNR, but we still gave a long way to go to make it work. All the trees you can see around us here have multiple benefits, providing us with fruits to eat as demonstrated. So, need to protect the environment to have more rains for the trees to thrive.
Let me say that even as far back the colonial period, around 1934-35, the British colonial government had already acknowledged that we needed to manage trees on farms.
Kwame Nkrumah, raised in a fishing village in the Gold Coast, received a scholarship to attend historically black Lincoln University in Pennsylvania.
Trees seem to be keystone species upon which healthy, functioning ecosystems hang. Trees kickstart or rehabilitate the broken water cycle. The nutrient cycle. Trees deposit a lot of organic matter, some trees are nitrogen fixing, and then biodiversity. Trees attract insects and birds, and they're kind of a catalytic species for bringing the rest of the system together. And we can do this at scale. You can't say that of tree planting. Firstly, it's very, very expensive. It's slow. It often fails, especially in the harsher environments. It's so difficult to go at any significant scale with tree planting.
The stumps and saplings we pruned in our demonstration plot have regrown, providing us with firewood and poles for building. This FMNR idea has also provided fodder for our animals to graze closer to home, reducing animal theft, which used to be a problem. key economic fruit and nut tree species of local importance have been restored in the Yamariga Hills through FMNR implementation. These include a variety of familiar native trees that were gradually disappearing, such as the shea and African grape.
Die Sahelzone südlich der Sahara. Durch Überweidung und Holzschlag hatte der Boden seine Nährstoffe und Stabilität verloren. Es kam zu einer Verdichtung der Böden, zur Erosion des fruchtbaren Materials und schließlich zur vollständigen Austrocknung des Bodens.
So how do we use FMNR to protect soil, to probably reduce soil erosion? Deliberately encouraging farmers to use it to do what we call micro watershed management. Once we are protecting trees within the farmland, micro farmland, and then the trees are growing, they help to generate the underground water sources. It contributes to the larger, bigger, macro water shares that we try to protect. And once we are doing that, then we might help to probably bring the water table in our communities up, since majority of the people depend on groundwater sources.
We used to cut the trees in this hill indiscriminately for fuel wood without thinking of the consequences. Community volunteers have been trained to carry out minor repairs and maintenance works on the boreholes for sustainability.
All these interventions have restored hope, better our lives, and reduced the seasonal outmigration to the cities for non-existent jobs.
So if you go around our landscape, you can see shrubs regenerating, and these shrubs can be managed to grow into bigger trees as compared to tree planting. So that's an opportunity.
The FMNR practice has brought significant changes, recognition, and benefits to our community, less risky. Restoration of the Yamariga Hills has improved the local rainfall pattern and microclimate and improved crop yields. The environment has become cooler, making it more comfortable for us to sit here.
We probably can upskill FMNR in Ghana quickly.
We need to build capacity at the local level in order to scale up these solutions.
So we'll continue to engage at various levels so that they can see the need to implement actions to inculcate FMR into our forest landscape restoration measures. Probably we need to do a lot more engagement if we have the resources.
A girl of my dreams.
I think you make hope happen by your actions.
Way to thy grave. It's just the same.
Climate issue is a global issue.
Love and death.
Challenges are localized, but I believe the solutions can be global.
How do we strengthen Wealth Nexus? I think the most practical way to do it is to demonstrate more best practices, particularly at the country level, interacting with policymakers.
What we need, as I said, is really having increased this partnership between research, the policy, the industry, and NGOs.
Attempts to work in partnerships to, do catchment area protection.
So when we think of water security and rolling out water security in Africa, we certainly need to have appropriate and sustainable solutions and also more resilient solutions with respect to climate change impact.
There's some bit of engineering in it, and so if we could introduce very simple, appropriate technologies, appropriate engineering, technologies that will be simple, easy for the people to manage, that would be most welcome.
There are also great opportunities with respect to synergies for resource recovery.
Because we talk about community engagement, but in fact, very often we don't take that much into account the knowledge of the people, and we don't have a platform where you have the policy, the science, the society that comes together and discuss and are really involved when there are policies that are being issued.
Nature-based solutions are more sustainable in the long run.
Within 5-6 years, the ecosystem can be recovered. We're not talking about decades of work. All of this is very possible.
Thank the visitors for coming to the Yamariga community.
Maybe we need to start thinking about a wealth redistribution between the West and maybe some regions that have a very low carbon footprint. People in Munich on average have a footprint of 20 tons per person, whereas the average footprint in the Saar region is less than 1 ton. Can we imagine of some kind of a wealth redistribution in order to address these problems systemically?
There are still a revolution that needs to be made in order to really move on and to make things change.
Listen to us, and we also provide very good training. We also want to think that we can use FMR to quickly protect our catchment areas and then to reduce siltation of our rivers and water bodies.